In a shocking turn of events, another automaker has just abruptly fired its CEO. This time, it's a company that surprisingly happens to have been one of Tesla's largest customers, and that's Stellantis, which has purchased billions in regulatory credits from Tesla to meet emissions targets. Earlier this year, Stellantis was firing on all cylinders, but this has quickly decayed as the automaker now grapples with declining sales and a tumultuous market in the United States. CEO Carlos Tavares, who was originally set to retire in 2026, has been abruptly ousted, effective immediately, leaving the auto giant in a state of flux. This unexpected leadership shakeup raises critical questions about the company's future, its role in the legacy auto industry, and its ongoing relationship with Tesla. Carlos Tavares, known for his aggressive cost-cutting measures and his pivotal role in the merger of Fiat Chrysler and PSA, the parent company of French automaker Peugeot, to form Stellantis, has been at the helm since the company's inception in 2021. His leadership was marked by bold strategies that reshaped the European and global automotive landscape. It's said that he was instrumental in pushing for electric vehicle adoption within the company's diverse brand portfolio. However, recent months have seen Tavares under intense scrutiny, particularly after a significant profit warning in September, which led to a 47% total drop in the company's market value this year. Stellantis is a major player in the global automotive landscape and owns a portfolio of well-known brands, including Jeep, Dodge, Ram, Chrysler, Fiat, Peugeot, Citroën, and Maserati. The resignation comes at a time when Stellantis is facing one of its toughest challenges yet, especially in North America, where sales of its flagship brands like Jeep and Ram have faltered. The company's North American operations, once a profit powerhouse, have been plagued by high inventory levels, manufacturing hiccups, and a perceived lack of responsiveness to market dynamics. Back in February, Tavares appeared on CNBC when the company's stock was red hot and it soared to all-time highs. Investors cheered as Stellantis was jumping into the EV game in the United States. By the end of 2024, Stellantis, across its brands, was planning for 8 new battery electric models in the United States and for a total of 48 EVs globally. According to Car Edge, Stellantis wasn't selling any electric vehicles at all in the United States until just the second quarter of this year, when the company managed to sell a few hundred cars in Q2 and Q3. This rapid push from 0 models to 8 is in a sense like flooring it in 8th gear from a standstill. There's little momentum, and having numerous models adds excess overhead and is extremely expensive for the company, as volumes are still very low. Tavares had talked a big game, saying that there would ultimately be massive consolidation in the industry, predicting that only 5 major automakers would remain, and he was certain that Stellantis would be one of them. However, Stellantis' most recent third quarter results were nothing to write home about. Revenue declined 27%, and sales in the United States fell 20%. The company stated that Q3 2024 included production gaps in several models as the global product transition begins, planned North American inventory reductions, and headwinds from a challenging European market environment. Most of Stellantis' EV sales occur in Europe, but total EV sales were down 9% in the first half of this year compared to the same period last year. EVs are crucial for Stellantis, not just for the viability of its future, but also because of how the company was formed. Historically, many of its brands did not produce any electric vehicles at all before the merger. This shortfall forced Stellantis' constituents to purchase regulatory credits to offset its emissions, whether in Europe, in the United States, or other markets. The merger between Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, or FCA, and Group PSA was pivotal in addressing this gap. PSA, led by Peugeot, produced the bulk of the company's EVs in Europe, whereas FCA brands like Chrysler had no EVs in their lineup. Chrysler is only coming out with its first EV, the Chrysler Airflow, in 2025. Combining these companies meant that they would now hit the thresholds to not have to buy as many emissions credits or none at all, from EV makers like Tesla. As a matter of fact, Fiat Chrysler has given Tesla an obscene amount of money. Between 2019 and 2021, they had to purchase $2.4 billion in credits from Tesla. When the merger between Fiat Chrysler and PSA Peugeot happened, the volume of credits now being purchased became uncertain. This was positioned as a big negative for Tesla, which would be losing essentially their largest customer, who's been giving them huge sums of money with pure 100% profit margins. Tesla uses this money to invest back into their own businesses and to compete back with legacy automakers. Stellantis has been essentially funding its own demise up until the merger. But fast forward to today, as regulatory credits get more stringent on emissions, and with automakers including Stellantis pushing hybrid and plug-in hybrid vehicles versus EVs. While we still don't know exactly what Stellantis is paying, on the other side of things, Tesla's regulatory credit volume has hit all-time highs. In the last 6 months alone, Tesla collected over $1.6 billion in emission credit revenue, suggesting that Stellantis may not be off the hook just yet. The world's fourth largest automaker is currently leading the race for the manufacturer with the worst fuel economy. There's also other troubles brewing at Stellantis. According to reports, a source close to the matter revealed that Tavares' departure was influenced by divergent views between him and the board, particularly around taking short-sighted strategies to try and reverse the company's misfortunes in the US market. For instance, Stellantis reduced headcount by 15%, or roughly 47,500 employees, between 2019 and the end of 2023. The United Auto Workers has been calling for Tavares' resignation for months now, as members face layoffs and production cuts. One owner of a dealership in Detroit even said it couldn't get worse, highlighting the relief mixed with the apprehension about what lies ahead without Tavares leading the company. But perhaps it can get worse. In the third quarter, Stellantis highlights that the Jeep Wrangler 4xe, the Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe, the Dodge Hornet RT, and the Chrysler Pacifica took 4 out of the top 5 spots for the best-selling hybrids in the United States. This is great news, except for one thing. Both the Jeeps and the Chrysler Pacifica have been receiving tax credits from the Inflation Reduction Act. The Wrangler and the Grand Cherokee hybrids were getting $3,750, and the Chrysler Pacifica met the criteria to receive the full $7,500 credit. It's the only hybrid vehicle that gets the full credit, giving Chrysler a large advantage. But if incoming President Trump does what he says he'll do on day one, which is to remove the federal tax credits for EVs, in quotes, these credits, which have been helping hybrid vehicles as well, will now disappear and could be devastating for Stellantis' U.S. business, where customers have enjoyed discounted prices on hybrids, compounded with the fact that the U.S. market was already down 20% for Stellantis and the credits are still in effect. It could also hurt the company's total fleet emissions even further if they lack selling EVs to begin with, and perhaps if hybrid sales soon begin to suffer. Hybrids have been helping Stellantis out, reducing the company's overall CO2 emissions, but even with them, they have the worst fuel economy as an automaker. Interestingly, the IRA has had the side effect of subsidizing these internal combustion engine cars, and automakers have been resting on their laurels, pushing hybrids instead of investing aggressively into battery electric technology and cutting costs to prepare for the coming onslaught specifically from Chinese automakers. Interestingly, while Stellantis barely sells any EVs in the United States and is the furthest behind among all of the major automakers, that hasn't stopped the Biden administration from throwing money in Stellantis' direction. Back in July, the Department of Energy divvied $1.7 billion in grants to convert at-risk plants into EV production facilities and help save 15,000 jobs. Stellantis was said to receive $334 million in grant money to convert an Illinois factory to make mid-size electric trucks, and another $250 million was awarded to convert its Indiana transmission plant to make EV components. Again, this $584 million is grant money that doesn't need to be paid back. And just the other day, Stellantis received a $7.5 billion loan, along with Samsung, to build 2 lithium-ion battery plants in Indiana with a capacity of 670,000 EVs. At least this is a loan and not free money, as the Department of Energy ramps up its loan-giving generosity before Trump takes over. However, the timing of this loan to Stellantis and its purpose is somewhat questionable. There's already a glut in batteries, which has allowed companies like Tesla to cut prices on its EVs in the past few years as battery prices continue to fall rapidly. However, owning these large investments in commoditized battery plants risks losing value over time. GM, for instance, just sold its stake in its fairly new battery facility to its partner LG to try and recoup its investment in the joint venture. What exactly happened to the loan that GM received for this plant? Tesla is also ramping up its own internal 4680 battery cell project, which will add more and more supply to the battery market. Tesla doesn't care too much. As a matter of fact, its goal is to crush the price and cost of batteries to make its EVs cheaper, and Tesla has the EV volume that makes it count. Stellantis is basically starting from square one, so they're making a large bet that these new batteries can be put into hundreds of thousands of new EVs and ultimately pay back its loan. Tesla is also taking a slightly different route and building a lithium refinery. China controls the majority of the refineries in the world, and so even if companies like Stellantis are building battery assembly plants, the raw materials still need to come from somewhere. This raises the question of whether Stellantis' significant investment in batteries and reliance on external raw materials can truly compete in a rapidly evolving and increasingly saturated battery market, especially as Tesla and other industry leaders diversify their strategies to secure long-term supply chain control. Stellantis faces a pivotal moment as it attempts to navigate significant challenges in leadership, market strategy, and EV adoption. With its abrupt CEO departure, underwhelming EV performance in the US, and heavy reliance on external factors like regulatory credits and government loans, the company's future hangs in the balance. So do you think Stellantis can right its US business and grow its EV market share in the country? And do you believe government loans and grants are enough to help Stellantis catch up in the EV race? Or does it need a more robust internal strategy? Don't forget to watch my last video on the most important part of the Optimus robot project that Tesla is working on. Be sure to follow me on X at TMIOTesla. Please hit the like button and subscribe. We would really appreciate that. And a huge shout out to all of our patrons that help to support our channel. Your support helps us to continue to make great content. Thank you guys so much for watching.